The Wizards have won a basketball game. I repeat, the Wizards have won a basketball game. What's going on, everyone? And welcome into another episode of Wizards Latest. And let's talk about that win over the Hawks last night. Give you my player of the game. Do we have to do a quick standings check in all of a sudden after this victory? And of course, we'll jump into the comment section from the previous video. Make sure you're consistently down in that comment section. Make sure you hit those like and subscribe buttons as well. Do me a favor there while you're down there. I appreciate all the support here on the road to 1K, you guys, and I think we're all feeling a little bit better here this Wednesday pre-Thanksgiving. No video tomorrow on Turkey Day. Enjoy the holiday. Enjoy some time with your families, and we'll be back at it likely on Friday. Again, thanks for tuning in here to the page. And let's talk about this Hawks victory. 132-113, the final score. First win in November for the Wizards, first NBA Cup win ever. Broke a 14-game losing streak that built up to. And man, that was just fun to see. A little bit more enjoyable. I say it again pretty much every episode. Where's the trademark at this point? But we all understand the situation here this year, but those performances for these young players and just for the roster as a whole are really needed to keep everybody engaged, especially at this stage in the year where you have such a long way to go. And then as fans, again, that's just so much more fun to watch. It keeps us engaged a little bit too. Washington getting off to a hot start yesterday, fueled by, of course, some big time CJ McCollum shooting. We're going to talk about him. Sneak peek there. He's the player of the game. But 45-23 was the opening quarter score line. And then really, the Wizards didn't really look back until the fourth. They were outscored by 14 in that fourth quarter, but still 132-113, as you see there, the final score. Let's talk about CJ McCollum and his performance. 46 points, 17 to 25, 10 to 13 from three-point land. I believe this was the third highest total of his career. Does have a couple of 50 bombs on the ledger already, but really, with that great performance, again, part of the reason for the hot start last night. But it brings me to what I call the CJ McCollum dilemma, and that's what do you want to see actually out of him when he's on the court here this year? Is this the type of performance that you would prefer with him, of course, in the starting lineup and, leading the way in one of what's going to be, few and far between wins here this year? Possibly raises, the trade value as the deadline ticks a little bit closer. Obviously, still a bunch of time there. Some debate maybe whether what his trade value could be at that deadline in and of itself. Or would you rather just see Jay McCollum come off the bench, let the young guys go to work? Obviously, Trey not in the lineup right now, so maybe, doesn't affect things there. But is that what you would prefer to see? Let him and Middleton mentor off the bench, let these young guys play and see what they can do. CJ's McCollum's, deal expiring at the end of the season. So it's not the end of the world if they don't get trade value back for him. But I think you would rather see, at least I would rather see something in return once the deadline rolls around than him just walking out the door for free. And so, while at times, again, this is my dilemma with him, it's frustrating for me where I go, and I know no Keyshawn, no Trey in the lineups last night, so it's less maybe last night focused, but just at times I've been frustrated with how McCollum oriented things are when I want to see how the young guys develop and how they lead the offense. However, again, with my personal dilemma here, and maybe one you guys are dealing with as fans, if you want anything back for him at that deadline, you have to see some efforts like this. And so games like last night probably help if there's any return coming for CJ McCollum. Let's jump into let's do a little standings check in here after the victory. Do we have to? Maybe not so much. The Wizards still one of those bottom four teams and one of four teams with just three or less wins on the season. No, it doesn't guarantee success. And again, the situation I referred to here at the top of the episode is trying to hold on to that top 8 draft pick in next year's class. And of course, if you finish in the bottom 4, you pretty much ensure that and then give yourself a chance to win the whole lottery as well, which we have seen, again, and this is kind of what I was leading into, doesn't guarantee success. It doesn't guarantee you a place at the top of the draft. It doesn't guarantee you that number one pick. We were just burned last year in the Cooper Flag sweepstakes. So I get it. However, NBA organizations, and not just in the NBA, franchises as a whole, GMs, coaching staffs, they have to take bets, essentially, small gambles about what they think is going to give them the best chance to build something successful. For some teams, that might just be in 1 year's future. For the Wizards, that's really down the line. We're thinking, at least I am, with Will Dawkins and this regime, the next generation of Wizards basketball and the next run of Wizards basketball. And for me to do that, you can't discount the value of one of those potentially really elite players at the top of next year's draft class. And whether it was next year's class or any class, you just can't discount the value of adding a possibly elite, young, high drafted talent. That is the avenue to success. And while I will say on the page all the time, it's not just about landing that one guy. If the infrastructure when he gets there isn't in place around him, it's all for naught. It doesn't matter. However, one of those players, especially if they do pan out to be the stars that they look like they might be, I think you're fooling yourself if that's not a huge addition for the future. I think the bigger concern is there's never, to me, when you have three guys that are so elite in a draft class, unless you go back to like the LeBron, like Wade Melo class, it really usually seems like at least one of those prospects maybe doesn't pan out quite the way you're hoping for. So then really the question is, hey, you got to make sure you land the right one and have the right pieces around him when he gets here to DC. Let's jump into the comment section from the previous video. A lot of great stuff there. Trigger Films says here after the Wizards Hawks blowout feels so good. Great CJ game. Alex Sarr looks so good. Hawks didn't play their best, but still feels like a light in a cave of darkness we have been in so far this year. Winning on Bub Carrington pajama giveaway night is so funny. Love those jerseys. I know they're not a new addition here this year, but those navy blue and like the red striped jerseys, I really enjoy those as well. Hopefully Corey's hand injury isn't too bad. I think he acts as some needed glue in the lineup, and the recent few games are giving me hope for CJ, being if it's a better trade piece or just not looking terrible like he did to start off the year. Either way, I'm glad. And Trigger Films, I think your comment right there sums up how so much of this fan base and so many of these fans, me personally, are feeling after a game like that. Again, it's not going to change maybe the entire outlook and the entire course of the year, but I mean, you just can't keep losing games hand over fist. You got to give us something, you know what I mean? And we got a little bit of that last night. Corey Kispert, good point you make there. And I think he is a player that really, he would benefit so much from being in a more positive situation in terms of winning at the very least, because I really think he's a guy, and this isn't a knock on him, he's just obviously not a playmaker, a creator himself, but he can still be really valuable if he's getting open looks. I mean, extremely valuable if you have somebody really setting him up. And he's a guy that you wonder, again, I've wondered, kind of gone in back and forth about what I think the future for a Corey Kispert is. But we talk about like mentorship so often with CJ McCollum and Chris Middleton. I actually think Kispert is really one of those perfect like bridge players of, he's not, I don't know, I should know off the top of my head. What's Kispert now? 26 years old? Uh, yeah, 26 years old now. So he's not 10, 12 years older than the 22-year-olds, the 20-year-olds entering the league like McCollum and Middleton are. Kind of bridges the gap, and a player I wonder if maybe they can really lean on just because, was already, dealt with, seen some of the things in the NBA, lengthy college career as well. So good for Corey, and of course he got rolling again. Hopefully he's okay, like you said in your comment there. But he finished with the 19 points, 6 of 11 from the floor last night for Kispert, and then of course the big number with him, 4 of 8 from 3-point land. Stephen B. Fine says the Wizards should let Trey Johnson sit out as long as needed for his injury to heal. The Wizards are not trying to win this year. Play AJ Johnson in his place, and you have to wonder. This has to be an opportunity, it seems like, for AJ to get some more minutes with Trey out of the lineup. But I mean, you look at that box score again yesterday, and I had to make sure on this because I didn't think I saw him, and no, it's another DNP for AJ Johnson. I got a question for Dispo, the biggest Bilal Koulibaly fan out there. Of course, he kind of goes in here in the comment section as well about some of the fans are just kind of writing him off already, and he finds that a little bit frustrating. French Connection type of night. It's time for Bilal to silence all his doubters. I think that was going into into last night's game. Dispo, I got a question for you, my friend. Where did your Bilal fandom come from? Was it just a guy you just saw his first year and you just liked? I'm really interested to know that. One of Bilal's biggest supporters down and a regular down in that comment section. Truth be told, 6020 says if they make the trade, they will lose momentum for the protected eight pick. And of course, that's again that situation I'm always talking about. Anthony Etheridge says, I have no expectations for this game. Just don't get blown out by 30. If you had no expectations going into last night, which is probably a good place to be here as Wizards fans as we go into each game. But man, I mean, probably felt really good coming out of that as well. Live Ride 59, and I'll give you the close here today. It says so many in second and third team players around the league that are top 100 when given the opportunity to play. Goes into kind of a list of some guys he's maybe interested in. Live Ride, maybe give me your top player there that you kind of would like to see the Wizards maybe go after again, because that's something that I think carries over from our conversation yesterday, where I was talking out in Sacramento. They're having a fire sale supposedly after their rough start to the year. Pretty much everybody's on the block, and so the trade I was interested in would include bringing a Schroeder and a Keon Ellis, and really Keon Ellis was the one. Schroeder in terms of his just ability to run the offense a little bit here this year, but Keon Ellis, I know he's going into free agency, but you wonder if you can maybe land him on a reasonable deal just because of his numbers have been limited so far in his career. But a player everybody, at least from what I've seen and kind of understand about Keon, thinks that if he gets the opportunity, he's going to have a really nice career, a really good 3-and-D player, and he's just sort of stuck behind Levine, DeRozan, Monk out there in Sacramento. So I didn't see this Keon listed in one of the players you were talking about. I think you actually say I'd take Schroeder for the salary matching, though, and only Monk is worth getting. I would be interested in a Keon Ellis trade for sure. I'm not sure the Kings are maybe the trade I laid out yesterday. Go check out that video, by the way. I'm not sure they would be willing to jump on. Obviously, it was more favorable in terms of the Wizards and would probably have to sweeten the deal with draft capital. But I would certainly be interested in a Keon Ellis. Again, part of those players and part of that mold of guys, like you said, second and third teamers that might be coming off the bench, might just be behind, whether it's a star or just a couple other players. And with an increased opportunity, really, you can maybe see a big step forward in their career. And of course, with the Wizards, you have maybe a runway to do that. But we appreciate all the support here on the page, you guys. Make sure you've dropped your comments. Do me a favor, hit those like and subscribe buttons as well if you've gotten this far and haven't done so already. Enjoy your Thanksgiving. Back with you likely later this week, likely on Friday. Again, guys, thanks for all the support here on the road to 1K, and thanks for watching another episode of Wizards Latest.